Who would have thought that hill climbing would return as a mountain bike discipline? Who would have thought that it would become a fine art? Who would have thought that it would be so bloody difficult? And who would have thought that a multiple World and World Cup downhill champion would be so bloody obsessed with it? With Bosch being such a prominent brand in racing, they invited us to explore the dark arts of climbing in a bit more detail with one of their ambassadors, Tracy Moseley. Bosch have led the way with the uphill flow concept, an expression of just how much more an EMTB can offer, and where fun can be had going up as well as down. Well, unless you're a world-class athlete, that is. Wow, Tracy, having spent, 15 years as a professional World Cup downhill racer?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Here we are in the woods, obsessing about hill climbing on e-bikes. E-bikes have totally changed what we do, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, and actually to take e-biking just from riding to racing, it brings a whole new element. And certainly for someone like me who's been that kind of fanatical racer, always looking for advantages, how you can make up time, then this is where it gets interesting again. It's like, how can you go quicker up that climb?
Which is the reason why we're in the woods today, which is to see which is the most effective way to climb on an e-bike. Now, Trace, I know you've been obsessed about this. Tell us quickly why you think it's an art in itself.
Well, I think for me, it's new. It's something different and something exciting. You know, enduro is obviously always been about going downhill, but now with 2 power stages at the last EWS we had, there's time to be gained, and there's also, if anything, time to be lost by making a mess of it. So I'm really interested to see kind of what I can do to to try and get that fastest time, and also to be consistent. So lots of little options: tyre pressures, whether you have your fork, you can compress it down low to keep that weight forward, help with the grip. Tyre pressures, saddle up, saddle down, turbo, EMTB, how do you attack it? There's so many options.
That's an interesting one, turbo or EMTB in itself. But also, like you mentioned, do you go for full attack, or do you let the motor take up some of the workload and save your energy for later in the stage?
Exactly, and I think that's one of those things that, I really kind of want to know for my own sake for going forward for next year, more racing. And I've always gone ahead with that, like, steady away, take your time, be relaxed, be in control, rather than just all power and power from the engine too, like grunting away up there and just making a mess of it. I like efficiency. I've always wanted to be an efficient rider, so that's going to be my tack, but I actually don't know if it's going to be the fastest, so keen to find out for sure.
Tracy Moseley, as calculated as ever, and looking forward maybe 6 months into the future of next year's EWS E Series. So you might be thinking what all the talk of power stage is all about. Well, at the Enduro World Series events, the e-bike category incorporates a special hill climb test against the clock, technical, physical and laced with pressure due to the watching crowds and also from the need to summit the climb without error. It's on the power stage where Bosch have been incredibly dominant. Bosch-powered e-bikes had unprecedented success at the first 2 rounds of the Enduro World Series in Zermatt, Switzerland and Pietra Ligure, Italy, taking 11 of the 12 podium places in both male and female categories. In fact, so dominant were Bosch in the men's class that they took the top 5 places at both events. So, what factors contribute to the success of Bosch at these events? Well, clearly they have some incredible athletes in Tracy Moseley, a 3 times Enduro World Champion, a World Downhill and twice World Cup Downhill Champion. Nico Vulliers is a 10 times World Downhill Champion and 5 times World Cup Downhill Champion. And the hardware, of course, well, it's no secret that Bosch were pioneers in the EMTB market and have spent the past decade developing and fine-tuning the Performance CX motor. Tracy is now using the 4th generation of this motor, which is lighter and more compact than ever before. Out on the hill today, Tracy will be testing a wide range of setup scenarios and putting each against the clock. The Trek factory racer will be comparing the effect of component features such as high versus low tyre pressures, seat up, seat down, fork up, fork down, and then her own physical effort by way of full effort or steady away. And finally, the motor mode, EMTB mode versus turbo. Right, let's get started then on what is the most efficient but fastest way to climb a stage on an e-mountain bike. Trace, what are you going to begin with?
So I think tyre pressure is probably one of the most critical things because it's going to help you with that grip, which is really the key to climbing something well. An interesting thing, if you're in a race situation, are you going to spend that time to really reduce them, and have you got a track pump in your backpack, do them back up? So I'm going to start off with a normal tyre pressure that I would do like a whole race on. Which is? I've got 19 in the front, yep, and 25 in the rear. Right. I've got an insert in the rear, but I have got a kind of lesser casing in the rear, so that's why it's a bit higher pressure. And a better compound on the front for grip. So they're quite different tyres too. Right. And then I'm going to go down to basically as low as I can go, I reckon. 10? I reckon I could probably 12? Do maybe 12 on, I don't know, 10 on the front, 12 on the back, 14 on the back. What do you want me to find out, Trace? We'll see.
Okay, we've got a 30.03. 30.03 with the hard tyre pressures, right? Yeah. Okay.
So that was 90. There's a lot of air going out of there.
I mean, what are you now?
12 and 15.
Now, I'm not being funny. Were you pushing it a bit harder then?
Yeah, because I made a mistake down there.
Oh.
What's the story? Same.
Interesting. Now, I thought you looked a little bit faster up there on the lower tyre pressure.
Well, I made a good mistake down there. Got a little bit off track and thought I was going to lose it, but I had actually really surprisingly better grip than I expected. Right, so okay. I did then push probably a little bit harder just here. Right. So the time? The same. On the higher tyre pressure was 30.03, and with the lower tyre pressure by a significant amount as well, about 10 psi, 30.32. So not really as much difference as I thought. I think we'll see it more on the more routine, more steep terrain possibly. Right. Should we go and try that then? I think we should try that next. Okay, rooty and steep. Glad I'm not doing it. Pretty equal times, but what about when the going gets super technical? Then the difference between making it and not making it could come down to the tyre pressure. Yeah, definitely. And the time you lose if you don't make it is massive, so that's key. Right, well, you better make it then. I'll try. 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh, wheel spin off the start. Not looking good.
Oh, she's got it! She's got it!
I'm in the tree!
Whoa! Wow, fair news. You've now got no chance whatsoever if you put air in there.
All right. Where's that pop?
So competitive.
In my bag.
Oh, she's got it. She's got it.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Right then. Slickery-roo. So you think I'm competitive, Steve? Yeah. Well, where do you think I get that from?
Well, it's just in you, right?
Yeah. It's also helped along by this guy. Shall we see if he can do it?
Yes, James Richards. Let's put your money where your mouth is on this little route section. See it.
Well, have a go.
You reckon you got it?
Well, have a go, I reckon.
I bet you 2 pints of beer.
I don't drink anymore, Jonesy.
He's got it, he's got it, he's got it, he's got it. He's got it. Oh, he's not got it. Oh. Look at the face. Look at his little face. He's gutted. I think you've proved there that lower pressure will get you over the tricky spots, which will be crucial, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's worth actually taking that time to empty pressure out of your tyres, as long as you've got a pump with you to put it back in, because, yeah, you just know you need to get offline. You've got that comfort zone.
Camera guy here, please.
So
camera
close.
back. I think that's the 10th time that Richard's tried that. Anyway, going back to tyres, Trace, I guess it's up to you to understand what's the correct tyre pressure and what range you can use when
definitely.
you're dropping them down.
And I think that depends on the conditions. Obviously, if it's wet, we're more slippy. If it wasn't wet or slippy, then you don't need to go down as much. And also, you don't want to puncture. You don't want to puncture on an uphill section, because that would be pretty.
And going back to Pietra Ligure, there was loose limestone rocks, which are absolutely horrendous, right?
Yeah. It was steep as well, steep and kind of loose. So there's always going to be like a compromise, I think, in finding that pressure that actually, also you want to go too slow. It is timed, so you want to have some momentum as well with those tyres too.
Right, next up, I think it's going to be seat up or seat down.
Yeah, definitely. This is one thing that I think I've learnt really, the more e-biking I've done, the more success I've seen people getting up really steep stuff is they kind of have their seat super low, which is fine, but when the climb then starts to become 30 seconds a minute, the fatigue you get and the strength you need in your legs to be able to climb powerfully with your seat low is really hard. So.
Are you saying that you're retraining your body yet again? You've become a downhill athlete. You were a successful EWS athlete. So maybe your physique is now going to become tuned into e-mountain biking?
I totally think I've learned so much just in the 2 races I did this year that if I want to be successful and do more next year, I need to be super strong, upper body, just like this, super strong, but also light, because that's obviously power to weight helps. But also just having that strength, and it's like the pedals are a little bit wider with the motor on an e-bike, so it's lots of little things going on with your adductors, your pelvis, and I've noticed a lot of changes, so definitely things to work on.
And I guess seat down kind of goes against the traditional sort of mindset of cross-country climbs being seat up, right?
With that efficiency, you want that full pedal stroke, all that power, but we've got a motor now, so you kind of have that advantage. So it's all about grip, being able to move your body weight, and I think it's much easier with a saddle down, but we'll see.
That was 44.40. So here comes Tracy. I'm no doubt she'll be huffing and puffing, even though this is a relatively short section. Remember, gearing is important as well, but Tracy's in exactly the same gear as she was on the seat up. Oh, this is good. This is good. This is good. Wow. Wow. What do you reckon? How did you feel?
Slower.
You felt slower?
Yeah.
So why did you feel slower? Is that because it's not a natural position to be riding in?
No, because for me, I would normally choose to ride like I did then with my saddle just off.
Why you breath?
Full height.
Why your breath?
Because it's going up a hill.
I thought e-biking was, as many people say, it's...
You still got to turn your legs, haven't you? And more than anything, it's negotiating and moving your body weight and getting grip. So for me, I notoriously now will choose to have my saddle just off full height, and that's because I feel like I can kind of move around, recover from mistakes easier. But actually what I think it's done on this is I haven't been getting the full kind of stroke and the full power, and actually I felt like I rode way better with my seat up. Like I just pointed and aimed more rather than negotiating stuff.
But isn't it true, in all your years of downhill racing, you can sometimes feel great and you get a clock and it's like, oh my God, it doesn't add up.
So what did that do?
On this occasion, you were actually 2 seconds quicker.
No way.
2 seconds quicker. And you were in the same gear, right?
Exactly the same
completely. Gear. Now your seat position I see here is not fully down, it's a little bit raised there.
But there's quite a lot of pedalling here, and it's steeper. It gets steeper, and I think that's when you'd really start to see more of it.
And you're going to see a bit more of it now.
Great. Tracy's got a nosebleed. He just tried that hard to keep up with me.
It is so steep, isn't it?
Oh, it's savage. And it's not just the steepness, it's the slipperiness. Like, the rocks look dry, but they're basically just coated in like moss and some green slippy slime.
Limestone, isn't it? So we just did fork in a normal position, which is I think 160, 170?
170 on here, yeah.
Versus it locked down to, looks about 120, 130.
Yeah, I don't know, I just go to as much as I can compress and then pull the old toe strap down.
Before we look at the clock, what was your feeling on the climb?
I really prefer to do technical steep climbing with this fork compressed. I just feel like I can get that weight further forward. I'm a bit more balanced on the bike, and I feel like I can adjust and react to stuff a bit more, and I'm not fighting always the front wheel wanting to lift. But again, the clock could tell me something different.
Well, the clock says that the fork down is actually 0.6 of a second faster.
Ooh, so it's marginal.
Marginal.
But all those bits add up, eh?
Yeah.
And for me, a feel is the most important thing. If I feel confident and I feel like I've got grip, then it helps with the whole day and that feeling of going fast.
Seeing as this is your bright idea, talk us through it.
So I've wondered about how you attack a climb, whether you go full gas, no efficiency, just pure raw power and use out the saddle, use your gears, do everything you can to go as fast as you can. Whether that approach is going to be the fastest, or whether what I would normally choose, the more efficient, saddle up and down, maybe sit on an easy gear, but make sure you're in a good gear, not too much changing, just saving energy for the length of the climb, and whether that actually over the course of a climb pays off and is faster. That's what I would choose, but I don't know if it's the fastest, and that's what I wanted to try.
Right, well, don't hang about then.
It's like Jonesy style versus Tracy style, really. He's all out all over the place, and I try and be nice and efficient, so we'll see who wins.
Efficiency versus brute force.
Here we go.
Okay, yeah, good. How many years have you been doing interval training now?
Not for a few, but for a few years before that.
Are you actually mad?
Yeah.
This means a lot to you, this EWS e-racing, doesn't it?
I think I'm never going to ever shake away that I'm competitive, and for me, this part of the EWS the uphill climbing, actually is more appealing than even the down, because I've done that for so many years.
Yeah.
I love a new challenge, I love something new, I love trying to improve myself, and yeah, this is cool. It's fun.
So what we did so we did that a couple of times because Tracy's freaking crazy. So on the last effort, it was 2 seconds faster when you did the flat out approach.
Wow.
But my question to you is, how are you going to feel when you've got the sting in the tail, the last 30 seconds? What's going to be best then?
Well, that's the thing. I think if it was over this distance and you knew it, I know from doing that, one, I need to train more of this, it's faster for sure, but you've got to be able to sustain it. So if it was a long stage like this,
yeah,
and my current physical condition, I'd have to go in my steady away approach, because you need to be able to then give that power when you need it at the end, rather than giving power early when actually your motor would get you up there a fraction of a second slower.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can sustain that aggressive power and you can control it, then obviously that's going to be the way to go. So yeah, I guess the interval training might have to happen again. Interval uphills. Ooh.
Right, okay, so one last challenge, Tracy, and that is going to be in EMTB mode, which is the kind of automatic mode in the Bosch motor, versus the turbo mode, which is the mode that everyone perceives to be the fastest. But there's only one way to find out, is I'm afraid it's another interval session.
That's all right. I'm intrigued too, so let's do it.
Yeah, exactly the same. No, exactly the same difference. The same difference between turbo and EMTB versus full effort versus efficiency.
Is it?
Yeah. 3 second difference.
3? Over 40 seconds?
Yeah, it's a huge amount, isn't it? It's a huge amount. Whoa, interesting. Turbo versus EMTB mode. I didn't think there'd be such a big margin. 3 seconds faster in turbo.
Full turbo everywhere. That's the way.
The question is, with the new Bosch motor in EMTB mode, you can kick the pedal down and get that momentum to get up slabs.
Yep.
And it's a tricky one, that. I think this needs further experimentation.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on length of climb, steepness, and also the slipperiness. Because I think if you do stop on something like this and you're in turbo, it's actually pretty hard to get going again because there's so much power. But if you want raw speed,
yeah,
it is turbo, I'm afraid.
I think it's pretty hard to get going in any mode.
It's pretty hard to get up it. Let's get going.
Which brings us on to maybe another subject, is what if you make a mistake? Now, when we were at Pietra Ligure, lots of people were making mistakes on the climb.
Yeah, me too.
What's the strategy? Do you just simply get off quickly and push as quickly as you can, or do you get off and put it into walk mode? That's the question.
I think the first thing you've got to do is, take a breath and not panic, because that's the hardest thing, honestly. If you start stressing, you tend to fall over, slip over, and you tangle with your bike. So the first thing is like
you did in Pietra Ligure,
exactly like I did. For someone like me, trying to push an e-bike, I'm not super tall, I'm not super strong. It's quite hard pushing one of these up. I tend to prefer to get to a point where I think I can get going again and get going as quick as possible rather than start pushing an e-bike up a hill. I
did notice people, when they were clipped in, which is another thing we haven't talked about, is flats versus clips.
Yeah.
I see you just going like that.
I've done quite a lot of that stuff when I've been riding them, yeah. If you can just keep momentum and keep one foot going, you can keep getting up the hill and get going.
Which is something you cannot do with flats. What you're going to do with flats is you can actually look for trees to push up the hill.
Yeah. But I think the most important thing is don't panic. If you get off and run or you try and get going again, whatever you do, you've got to try and do it calmly.
There you go, wise words from the world champion. Don't panic.
Easier said than done.
Oh! I tell you what, it's a tough old game, this hill climbing.
Hell yeah, even with an e-bike.
I think hill climbing is very much back on the map when it comes to mountain biking.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Just and it's a whole body workout. Like, yeah, we've got a motor, but you're fighting the grip, you're fighting your line choice, you're fighting your inner energy, getting angry at yourself and your bike. It's that's a tough one here. Goodness me, yeah. I'll have to come back because that's...
You know what, that's the crux, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
All the things that we've done before, such things as the tyre pressure, the mode, all that, it could actually count for nothing if you
can't
don't
get through there.
Up 1-2 metre section.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. Let us know. Trace, thanks so much for coming and putting in some even more interval training.
Thanks,
in your long career. I'm looking forward to coming back here and tackling this hill again.
Yeah, it's given me loads of little ideas of, what you need to do for more of these power stages for next year, and lots of little things anyone can have a workout and play at and see how you get on.
And on that note, please send us in your hill climb challenges which you've been doing in whatever part of the world you are, whether you're in the sunny sort of southern hemisphere at the minute or in the dirty, dark northern hemisphere. Let's know your thoughts on Tracy's techniques and join us on the next hill climb challenge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you.